Warning: the Dub Talk podcast contains language and content that may not be suitable for younger audiences. Listener discretion is advised. There will also be spoilers for various anime throughout the course of this episode. Please use caution in case we discuss a series that you haven't finished. Finally, the opinions expressed are those of the individual participants and may not reflect the Dub Talk podcast as a whole. Enjoy the show.
Hello, one and all, and welcome to Dub Talk, the podcast where a group of aspiring musicians get together, start a band, sign a big contract, and go on tour, playing sold-out concerts. And if we have any time and energy left over, we talk about the latest and greatest in anime dubs. But not this time. We won't be talking about the latest. We're actually going to go back, yes, way back to the distant year of 2015.
I'm so excited for this. Ooh. Yay. Man, I tell you, Hardy, when you told me what we're covering tonight, I was hyped, and I've got so much to say on this. Man, thank you so much for putting this together.
You know, it was Stephanie and Megan's idea to go back and do this Dub Talk retrospective, covering shows that we covered originally way back in our early years. Because believe it or not, this is Dub Talk's 10th anniversary. And this show, as of this month, just turned 10 years old. The show itself, not our
God. 10-year special event. I gotta get pants on.
What?
After 10 years, we are getting the band back together for one return performance. And just like the best performances, we have no script. We're doing this entirely live. Yes. So it's probably going to crash and burn as always. But hey, that's some of the best performances have come out. Just complete messes.
It's about the people you bring along, right? It's about the roadies that you make along the way.
This was actually my very first show that I hosted an episode for. And this was also the very first episode that two of our hosts actually were on. And it was going to be the debut of our third host. And so, I am your band leader, SpacemanHardy. We are backed up on the strawberry-shaped guitar by NoahClue.
We got a shred. It's very fitting that this lead character is actually a cat, considering that she knows how to shred.
On bass, we have Jet.
10 Down Crimson's 10 out of 10. We'll do it again.
And making his debut, we have our drummer, Roots of Justice.
And I got a vida, honey.
There are some epic drum solos in that song.
No, that's all church organ.
I'm trying to think, like, who's like the most iconic drummer of all time that you could have also impersonated? And I'm thinking of, like, okay, there's Ringo Starr, and there's that's about it.
At least give him some talent. Make him like Neil Peart or something like that.
Oh, God, how can I forget Rush? I'm so sorry. Yes. Patrick, you are going to be Canadian for this episode.
Okay. I'm technically already honorary Canadian, so we're good there.
There you
I'm
go.
good with that.
But yes, as part of the 10-year anniversary of Dub Talk, I have chosen to go over 2015's Show by Rock Season 1, because it does hold a lot of nostalgia for us, and we were just going to come back 10 years later and talk about the show and how we feel about our original thoughts and how those thoughts may have adjusted over the period of a decade. So, someone, do you have a synopsis for the show?
All right, let me just reach over to my massive stack of unwatched Blu-rays here and read off the synopsis of this very pink, heavily autographed Blu-ray, because my copy is autographed by a lot of the cast members who were in it, but we will talk about in a bit. And just remember, the cuter they are, the harder they rock! Set in the glamorous metropolitan of Tokyo Midi City, where music and the dream of musical superstardom are everything, Cyan is a newcomer. After stumbling into the world and being transformed into a cute cat girl, she jumps at the chance to fulfill her lifelong dream of joining a rock band. She joins Plasmagica with three amazing other characters, Bunny Girl Choo Choo, Puppy Girl Retori, and Alien Sheep Girl Moa, as they face off against other bands striving for fame and fortune. But with the competition like this, can they achieve their dreams, or are they doomed to be one-hit wonders? Find out now in this exciting new show put out by Funimation. Rest in peace.
Thank you, Noah, for that. So, as always, last time when we did the original episode, we actually did it before the show actually ended. And so, if you can remember what our old format was, is that we would all watch the show in Japanese and then make predictions as to who would be cast. A lot of times we got them wrong. Some of them we were dead on. But as you can see, our format has changed over the years. And so now that we go back and have watched the show from beginning to end, if you go back and watch our episode, we didn't really know that they were going to dub over all the songs at the time. And it turns out that they did. For at least the first 3 seasons of the show. I think they stopped for season 4. So with that in mind, let's go on and talk about our first group of people, our ADR staff, our director and our scriptwriter. For ADR, for season 1 at least, our director is Caitlin Glass, and for our scriptwriter, we have Jamie Markey. For episodes 4, 8, and 10, we have Mike McFarland, and we have Rachel Robinson covering 7 of the episodes. Now, as you no doubt know, Caitlin Glass you may remember as previously having directed the dub of Ouran High School Host Club, and went on to direct both Fruits Basket 2019, all 3 seasons, and is currently directing Solo Leveling. As for the others, you have absolutely surely watched something that they have written for. And so, just jumping right into it, what was your opinions on the direction and script writing of season 1 of Show by Rock?
I gotta give the script writing props because it actually did not feel like anime. It felt like a full-on Saturday morning cartoon, and that is very difficult to do with adaptive screenwriting.
Interesting comparison. Can you give another example of a Saturday morning cartoon you would compare this to?
Ooh.
Are we talking like 80s G.I. Joe, Gem and the Holograms kind, or are we talking like more modern Saturday morning cartoons like your Avatar Last Airbenders, your Amphibias, actually those aren't Saturday morning cartoons. Mainstream modern American cartoons, I guess.
I'm ashamed of you, especially since you're the cartoon aficionado. How could you miss the obvious Josie and the Pussycats reference? Like, it's right there.
I mean, he did bring up Gem, and Gem is actually kind of an apt comparison. And I would go so far as to say this could have easily aired, like, Saturday mornings in the mid-2000s, minus the whole, the whole whipping the boss thing.
And some Barbie doll nudity probably as well.
Yeah,
Yeah.
a little bit.
Yeah, as telling of as being an adaptation of a Sanrio property, who are, of course, themselves aiming for the most marketable mainstream appeal possible. In fact, we'll get to it in a bit here, but we actually have a Hello Kitty alumni in the cast. We'll get to that in a bit.
Oh, yeah.
I'll piggyback off of what Patrick was saying, because one of the things I really want to praise the not just the direction, but the adaptive group for is how they chose to adapt some of the Japanese archetypes into English. Like, specifically, Jamie Markey got a call out in one of the commentaries because there's a character, the Strawberry Heart character, who in the original Japanese had this very silly, funny, but very flamboyant, very obviously gay voice. Like, in a pejorative sense. Like, it was actually it would have been kind of offensive to us if they had translated that voice directly into English. So Jamie was the one who was like, can we do something that will get across the same sense of his personality, but without that harmful stereotype in there? And that's where they came to the, what about a king, Elvis impression, the king himself. And that way you can keep all of the goofy, silly humor, but without anything that would cross a line.
I also have to give props to the actual script writing for the music. Recording wise, you can kind of tell the songs are dubs.
Oh yeah.
But this was also from the era of like, I think each of the major distributors, not each of the major distributors, each of the major dubbing hubs basically had like one or two musical adaptations by this point. Like LA had K-On! Houston had like Narima Daikon Brothers.
Oh, that's an older one even. That was mid 2000s. But your point still stands. Everyone who is in the dubbing sphere had experience with taking Japanese pop songs and turning them into good English lyrics. Like we were past the point of let's see, what's the standout of like bad English singing from like the olden days?
Ranma One Half.
Ranma
One Half had some really bad ones.
I only watched that in Japanese. Sorry, I don't know the English versions of those. But I'll take your word for it.
And not gonna lie, the Oron OP was like not very good.
It still lives on in infamy to this very day.
Now, see, it's interesting that you brought up like praise for the writing because it's a mixed bag. Like there is definitely some good adaptive versions of this where it is as good as the Japanese, in my opinion. And then there are some where they do the thing that I don't really like in adaptive script writing for songs, which is taking a syllable and stretching it out to 2 beats to fill the meter, and that makes it sound a little awkward. And I don't have like a written example here, but if you go back and listen to like the opening or the ending songs, which still fit the meter, but occasionally they'll take a word and stretch out the syllables a little bit, and it just reminds me, like you were saying, that this is indeed dubbed singing.
Yeah.
Yeah, the songs are definitely of very mixed quality, I would say.
I am glad Hardy just asked us to come back to the show, though, because when we first covered this 10 years ago, we did not get a chance to cover the songs because we were just going off the broadcast dub, which they did not have the time to adapt the songs yet, but they did for the home video release soon after. In fact, Hardy, didn't you ask some of the staff who were working on the show if they were going to dub the songs when you saw them at a con around the same time?
Yes. I asked Brina Palencia about it, and she says that what they try to do is they don't always have access to the full songs. I asked her specifically about another show that she was working on, The Rolling Girls, and the song Stones that she sings in it. And all she really had to adapt was the TV edit. And I think in this case as well, they weren't able to do the full songs, but they were able to do the TV edit shortened versions of them. And from what I understand is they try to do the songs in every show whenever they can, if it's doable or if they can afford it or if they can get the rights to it. And obviously for Show by Rock, for at least the first 3 seasons, they were able to do that. And that's why a lot of times in newer shows you'll see that they don't dub the songs, or they don't get the rights to dub the songs. Love Live especially is notorious for you can only have these songs in Japanese. But I think they did a good job with what they did, considering the time frame that most of the shows of this type, like I know we brought up Symphogear, didn't even have dubs, much less dubs singing in them. So it was really, I think it's, given the limitations, I think they really pulled it off pretty well, even though the quality of some of the singing is hit or miss.
Yeah, we'll get into the quality of the singing itself.
Yeah, stuff like that's always kind of a mixed bag.
Still, I am glad that we got a chance to, had the opportunity to kind of go back and re-listen to it. And I know that I myself am very out of the loop on some of the more recent shows that are coming out. But I do know that at the very least one musical show has not gotten an English dub, and that's Bocchi the Rock. So is there any other like modern series you guys could recommend that does have a lot of dub singing in it?
Fuka?
Yeah.
That's still a little older by this point. Yeah, we're recording this in 2025.
What was the one show that they went back? I think, they did go back and dub the songs for Iruma-kun.
Oh, I didn't know
Only a
that.
couple.
Which is basically Kaylee Mills singing 7 different versions of herself.
Yeah, that's still, again, don't want to critique them and say like, oh, you should never dub the songs. No, absolutely. When it's done, it's a welcome treat, and it's always been that way. I feel like there's always been a coin toss about whether they would adapt a song into English. Like School Rumble, for instance, this wacky comedy show from mid 2000s did not dub almost any of the insert songs or any of the theme songs, but for some reason they dubbed the second or the third ending song, just that one, and it was like, and it was a really good version of it too. You had Lucy Christian and Caitlin Glass duetting in that, so yeah, when we hear it, it's nice.
Oh, actually, there is one other one, like, within the last couple weeks that I know of. Up on Hulu, they put up a dub for a series called Synduality Noir. A lot of music, and apparently they did dub all of the songs.
Nice.
Oh, wow. Well, I am currently being attacked by a black cat.
Lucky.
So are we good to head on to our first set of characters then?
Yeah, let's do it.
Gotta rock!
All right, this first set of characters are not actually in any bands, but they are the things such as the managers and our antagonists and our legendary performers. First off, we have Maple Arisugawa. He is the manager of Banded Rocking Records, who handles both Plasmagica and Shingon Crimson, and takes in Cyan as she gets transported into Midi City. He is a small, eccentric character in the shape of an egg. And there are many other characters in the shape of an egg who resemble him and are all voiced by the same person. We also have Angela, his assistant. She is basically the one who is the reason. She is the mind and reason behind Banded Rocking Records compared to Maple's eccentricities. And she is a mouse with an eye patch. And a lot of times she is his assistant. A lot of times she has to take him into the back room and discipline him, much to his delight. We have our main antagonist, Dagger, who first appears to be a kind of serpent, but is later reduced to a sort of tadpole. He is trying to take over Midi City, and through evil means. We have Ogasawara, who is his henchman. He basically has the face of a moai, and he fucks things up and basically gets fired, but eventually becomes the manager for another band who lives outside in the Podunks. And finally, we have the Grateful King, who's also voicing the Strawberry Heart guitar. He is a legendary musician and producer responsible for many number one hits in Midi City. He is currently being held hostage by Dagger in order to write the greatest song of all time and take over the city. And so, voicing these characters, voicing Maple, we have Sunny Strait. Voicing Angela, we have Rachel Robinson. Voicing Dagger, we have Chris Rager. Voicing Grateful King, we have Justin Cook. And voicing Ogasawara, we have Brandon Potter.
I just want to hug whoever the casting director was who said, let's make the egg-shaped character go to a guy named Sunny. Sunny side up. That ranks right up there with casting, Brian Beacock as the Peacock in Beastars. It's just excellent nameplate.
Noah, I know you can't see it, but I'm doing the finger guns right now.
Hey!
You're doing the Buddy Christ?
Yep.
Well, I was thinking Fawns, but that's even better. Rest in peace, Pope Francis. Anyways, there is a lot of praise to say around this group. I think we're going to talk about a lot of characters who are very young. Like, maybe the actors might not be, but the characters are definitely on the high school or like early 20s side. So it's kind of nice to have this group here who rounds out the sounds of musicians as mentors or leaders or just, older senses of logic in this crazy zoo of musicians. So yeah, the entire group here is well welcomed for having not necessarily like super low voices, but either like more mature sounding voices. Although I should point out that Sunny's Maple gets to be goofy and wacky throughout most of the show, and it sounds like he's having a ton of fun. Like, God bless the goofy side character voiced by Sunny Straight in any show he's in.
And I mean, it's just how many of these goofy little eggs he gets to play.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
Because he's Maple, he's also this Okinawan cousin of Maple.
Yeah, with like a
who shoots at Shingon Crimsons for an episode. That's just... That episode is just awesome.
In season 2, he's Moa's dad.
And he speaks like this?
That's right. For some reason, like, Moa's mom looks like the same creature she is, but nope, the dad gets to be egg character.
And then there's a talk show host in the shorts. Like, that is probably my favorite Maple incarnation right there from the shorts.
Yes, and I'm glad they got to dub those two and included them on the season 2 DVDs. Angela doesn't get to do too much in the show, but I will shout out when Hardy was describing her character design, which is a mouse with an eye patch, all I could think in the head is, oh god, she's a relative of Danger Mouse, isn't she?
Not the reference I would have thought of, but sure.
There's this old British cartoon about a mouse detective with an eye patch. They actually had a revamp a couple of years ago.
Neat.
We need to get... Basically, what we need to do is Jet, hold on to... For the next Recommend or Die, I'm going to recommend you some, like, old boomerang show that only people who watched that channel or were around in the 60s would remember.
Like Banana Man.
Yeah, or Tennessee Tuxedo.
I like it when Rachel Robinson plays the characters who are competent, who get shit done.
Yeah, thank God we have that in the show, because everyone else is kind of on the goofy or the evil side.
Everyone who's not evil is kind of a moron.
Yeah, that would apply to Ogasawara as well.
Yeah.
Which, you mentioned you like it when Rachel gets to play, like, the competent characters. I just love it when Brandon Potter is in stuff in general. Like, he doesn't get to be in nearly enough stuff, in my opinion.
Yeah.
I know that one of you guys mentioned he's a recurring character in One Piece, which, I apologize, I'm a bad otaku. I haven't really seen that much of the show, so when you said he was in it, I didn't recognize the character.
Yeah, the time will come. I'm just slowly loading bullets into the Recommend or Die gun. But I absolutely love the three-way chemistry dynamic between Dagger, Ogasawara, and King.
You think they were trying to make a commentary about the music business, about ensnaring people to make music for them, or else they pay a hefty fine?
Dagger did definitely feel like he was getting like evil music CEO vibes, just like kind of. I really like to have Chris Rader as kind of be into that sort of like evil businessman energy, very like you haven't done well in your performance review kind of deal.
Yeah. And I mean, I love that he gets to turn this around a couple years later into things like, names escaping me from Yamato.
Dessler.
Yeah, and then I think even like maybe a couple of seasons later, the principal in Assassination Classroom.
Oh, yeah.
That was him!
And I mean, bringing things back to the One Piece train, he was Arlong, and now he's Blackbeard.
Oh, he's a new Blackbeard? That's cool.
I totally know who that is. Well, you know who we don't get to hear that much behind the microphone these days? Justin Cook.
Yeah. From what I understand, he's either, like, someone very high up in the studio now, or, like, in charge of the entire enchilada.
Yeah.
So
like
it's understandable.
Right, there's a reason why, like, a lot of the credits for shows coming out have him listed as, like, executive producer. You know, it's not that he's not in the business, it's just he's not doing it behind the microphone. So, when he does get a chance to, it's a welcome treat.
Yeah.
I think currently the only character he is consistently voicing these days is Kirishima in My Hero Academia. But I could be wrong.
Yeah.
That's probably right.
He came back for Kirishima. He also came back once again for One Piece. He was... No, not Law. Yusa's kid. There we go. That was the name.
And when that inevitable Yu Yu Hakusho revamp finally happens, do you think they're going to try to cast him as Kuwabara?
Personally, I hope
wasn't-
if Yu Yu Hakusho
He
comes
wasn't
back, they do a full
Kuwabara,
reboot.
he was Yusuke.
Or Yusuke, I'm sorry. No, I'm sorry. Chris Sabat was
and
Kuwabara.
And I'm personally hoping they never reboot Yu Yu Hakusho because, like, the adaptation is basically perfect as it is. There's literally no reason to remake it whatsoever.
Yeah,
I mean, I agree.
Yeah, I'm not saying it needs to be remade. I'm just saying with the trend right now in anime of doing, like, we got an Anne of Green Gables version right now. We got Magic Knight Rayearth coming up. We just finished up with more Spice and Wolf. It just feels like what's the big property that's coming next?
What's old is new again.
I mean, we've been waiting, like, actually, like, over, like, a year and a half now to figure out what's going on with that new Fist of the North Star they announced.
Yeah, well, they haven't
So,
not
no,
been making Fist of the North Star stuff for years now. It's like there's a new Fist of the North Star every couple of years.
Yeah, I mean, specifically they announced a reboot, like, a year and a half ago, and then just, like, radio silence.
Okay, so maybe not everything gets a revamp.
One thing I really like about, not necessarily his performance as King, but his Strawberry Heart, like, as a replacement for the personality swings in the Japanese, instead in the English version, he switches between musical genres through the decades. Going from, like, glam hair rocker to, like, Elvis Presley. And I think at times he even goes into, like, the psychedelia.
Yeah, there's definitely a little bit of, like, British psychedelia in there. I don't know if this was, like, an intentional homage, but it definitely felt like he was tapping into Robin Williams as the genie from Aladdin in that, that personality swapping throughout the show.
Ooh, that's a good one.
And it helps, that he has no lip flaps, so that they can make him they can write the script as long as it matches the original meaning with a lot of liberties.
Yeah.
Oh, that's true.
Like I said earlier, he gives me a lot of Steven Tyler vibes when he needs to.
Yeah, definitely. Like, I think the main personality, or the main references here are Steven Tyler and Elvis Presley. But he goes back and forth between a lot, and it never feels like it's too much. If that makes sense.
Oh no, no.
Yeah, it's just silly enough to work.
There's a love for music old and new in the cast, definitely, and having not just actors who can sing, we'll definitely get them here, but ones who have a background in bands or some kind of musical repertoire to begin with. It's very nice to have that carried across in the dub. This didn't feel like just another dub that we got to do to pump discs out. It felt like a passion project for sure, and especially with the time restraints they had with this being one of the first broadcast dubs. It would have been very easy to justify cutting corners on the writing and the directing, and I don't think that Caitlin and her staff did that. They put every musical note they had into this.
And I think that plays into sort of the old ways of the broadcast dub, where you would actually go back and, like, take a look at things, touch things up. Like, you've got that opportunity of time between the actual stream date and Blu-ray. Which you don't get quite as much of these days, or at least not noticeable.
Well, that's less of a problem if you're not putting everything out on disc these days.
Stairs.
And we're not calling anyone out on the Crunchyroll. We're not calling anyone out on that practice, but we would Crunchyroll certainly like to encourage more home video releases out there to anyone listening.
All right, so are we ready to move on to our first actual band?
Yeah, let's do it.
I got my Shami-san all tuned up and a giant cat head ready to play.
All right, our first band is, forgive me if I mispronounce this, Surezuri Naru Ayatsuri Mugenon. They are a trio who are heavily influenced by quote-unquote Eastern culture, aka they're basically from Midi-City's version of Japan. They play using traditional Japanese instruments, and with a sort of Eastern meets rock and roll style.
Mm-hmm.
Their members are A, who's simply spelled the letter A, who is a Shibu Inu who plays a shamisen guitar. Then we have Un, who is a mouse, who plays the shamisen bass. And we have Darudayu, who sings and also plays the Daruma drums. Ah is voiced by Don Bennett. Un is voiced by Jade Saxton. And Darudayu is voiced by Stephanie Young. Well, what are our opinions of these three?
I gotta be honest. Like, I don't have too much to say about like the individual bands. Like, they're all fine. But they each only have so much presence in the show.
Yeah.
That's not inaccurate.
I will say, I think the adaptive script writing toward their music is probably the strongest.
Yeah, but definitely could not have been easy trying to do a good style music in English, but when it works, they made that work.
It's very ironic that the band that, of the main ones we're going to talk about, the band that has arguably the loosest connection to the main plot of the show is the one that required the most musical chops. One of the commentaries actually made mention of how this trio here was cast because these were like the most seasoned and highest quality of the musicians that were in the Funimation repertoire. Like, Dawn Bennett has like perfect pitch, Jade Saxton comes from like a musical background, and Stephanie has like a lot of like musical jazz experience. So it was like, we're gonna go big or go home with this exact trio, because those songs are hard to adapt. They're fast, they're upbeat, and they're very, very frenetic.
Yes, Stephanie Young even goes on tour during cons and does her own musical performances. I mean, she actually came to ABC once this year. I didn't go see her, but my friend did, who's a big Stephanie Young fan, and he absolutely loved it. So,
yeah, great showcase for her work here. I'll admit, in kind of mirroring what Jet said, is like, it's a fun little quirk, and I'm sure that this is the favorite band of someone who played the mobile game. Wasn't really too into the scenes where they're like commenting on the necessity of overcoming the novelty of their act to like actually, become better musicians and not just be a one-hit wonder. But I feel like there's a place in this world for that, to be reminded you can't get complacent as an artist. You always want to push yourself to the next level.
Yeah.
Credit where due. Like, I thought Stephanie did a good job, kind of like playing the voice of wisdom among the group. I thought they did a good job of kind of like having the balance to it out.
I think among the bands that we're talking about, she's the only one who's actually over 18. She's actually an adult. I may be mistaken on that, but she is definitely the more maternal of the group and of the rest of the cast as a whole, I would assume.
Yeah.
The golden pipe is kind of a giveaway on that front.
Right. But I will say they do play a much bigger part in Season 2, even though we're not going to be talking about that. So,
right.
And Darudayo does have her one big fight near the end with the demon monster, so...
Yeah, with like that moth bat thing.
It was the one where Pretty Krista was trapped inside. I think it was the moth bat thing.
Yeah, they totally would have won if it weren't for the fact that, we're beating up demon-possessed pop bands. Maybe we shouldn't do that.
Yeah, probably not a good idea to slap around the middle schoolers, the literal children.
No, that's Yeah, I thought we outlawed bullying.
Oh, that's right. They are pretty much middle high schoolers, which, speaking of...
Yes, let's move on to Critty Krista, our rivals. Yeah, our rivals for Plasmagica. They are a band of middle schoolers who are signed currently with Dagger, and he is trying to use them in his evil plot to take over Midi City, despite their knowledge. Well, most of their knowledge. I'm pretty sure one of them knew what was going on and knew what was at stake until it was too late. Anyways, making up Critty Krista, we have the lead singer Rosia, who is a cat, we think. She is a snobby little bitch in Season 1, making herself out specifically to be Plasmagica and Cyan's rival. They are the ones who compete against Plasmagica in the first Battle of the Bands, and we find out what happens afterwards. We have Tsukino. She is an animal that is sleepy all the time, and she likes her sweets, and she likes to sleep. We have Homie, who is a calf, a baby cow, and she's just kind of, sort of, she's the weirdo of the group who's interested in a lot of things that you normally wouldn't be interested about. And all rounding out the group, we have the drummer Jacqueline. She is a lizard and is very athletic and good at sports and can outswim a literal fish.
Going off of the wiki, going back to Tsukino. Apparently she's an Asian black bear, according to the Show by Rock wiki.
Okay, so that would explain the sleepiness because she's always hibernating.
Yeah, the characters' animals are much easier to tell once they go into their chibi 3D forms, but otherwise it's like you just have the color of their hair and the animal ears on their head to go off of.
Right.
Yeah.
Which I figured, funny explanation as to why everyone has 4 ears, 2 human and 2 animal.
That bugged me so
is
much.
because music is the most important thing in this world, so they have to hear it over twice.
Oh, that's clever.
I can't argue with you.
good.
That does make sense. It just doesn't.
But anyways,
God.
voicing these characters, voicing Rosia, we have Michaela Krantz. Voicing Tsukino, we have Natalie Hoover. Voicing Homie, we have Afia Yu. And voicing Jacqueline, we have Morgan Berry.
I didn't know that Jacqueline was Morgan Berry. I had forgotten since coming back into this. Because in listening to this, I thought, that sounds like... oh, God, I'm going to blank on her name here. Who voices Lena Inverse in the Slayers movies that ADV put out?
Lucy Christian.
No.
No,
it's us.
No, not the...
Cynthia Martinez.
It's
That's what I was
Cynthia
thinking of.
Martinez.
Yep, thank you.
Okay.
No, good. I've not heard Morgan Berry do this kind of like scratchy, husky voice, to like peppy, scratchy voice, and it was a lot of fun. I was honestly way more into Jacqueline as a character than the other members of the group, solely from Morgan's performance in this. Like, none of the other members besides Rosia get a whole lot to do in the show, aside from just be the backup to Rosia's antics. But that right there, along with her character design, was like, that is how you make an anime character.
Yeah. Although I will say, while Rosia is the one who gets the most to do, Tsukino seems to be the voice of reason of the group for this arc. I believe she's the one who goes to Plasmagica to let them know something was going on with Rosia.
Mm-hmm.
Was it her or was it Homie? And I think we're going into season 2, guys.
Oh, well, I haven't actually seen much of season 2. I watched, like, the first episode.
There's not much of a stylistic difference between the two shows, so it's easy to confuse what happens in one to the other.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
Tsukino and Homie really don't get all that much to do in season 1, other than be sort of Rosia's backup. But Rosie of this particular group, Rosia definitely has the lion's share of Critty Krista's influence, and I think Michaela. This is one of Michaela's starting roles. She was still pretty new around this time. I think she only had a couple shows like Showman Sample behind her at this point. And at least in season 1, she does make Rosia come off as kind of a little bitch.
Yeah. Yeah, no.
I mean, she learns her lesson near the end after seeing things happened, and then everyone becomes friends. But yeah, Rosie is a very love to hate kind of character in season 1.
Yeah, she starts off very standoffish.
She did not need to accept their second battle against Plasmagica. She could have just said, no, we already beat you. We don't need to do it again. But no, she wanted to, as she said, stomp them into the dirt. And I do like that Michaela intentionally gave Rosie, like, her voice doesn't pitch between a fake cutesy voice when she's in front of the camera and then a different voice when she's, being her true self. Like, she didn't do the Stephanie Shea in Lucky Star thing where it sounds like two different characters. But that's fitting for the character because it's like, you're not supposed to think she's trying to hide it. She's very upfront about her intentions, both on and off the camera.
And yeah, if now that Hardy mentioned it, Afia, I think, was sort of the voice of reason here in this particular season. I thought it was Tsukino, but
what's fitting is that the thing that I also liked is that none of the characters sounded the same in this group. Like, they all have distinct eccentricities to their delivery that makes it so even if you're not looking at the screen, you can tell which character is who. Like, Michaela has the peppier, more outgoing voice. Natalie gives Tsukino the more laid-back, sleepy voice. And like I said, Morgan has that distinct raspy voice she gives Jacqueline, which makes Afia, like you said, kind of like the more logical voice of reason. Like, no, we don't need to be, we're already gonna be rich. We're already doing well. We don't need to jeopardize that. So what did you guys think of the actual singing, like the actual performances that they had? They had like two major scenes where we got to hear them sing. It was like the first episode where they showed up as the competition to Plasmagica, and then the main battle at the, what was it called? I'm familiar with the band, with the Grateful Rock Festival. That's it.
Yep, I'm gonna be honest. Out of all the bands, I probably kind of remember their music the least.
yeah, I know that it was a bit more idly than the other groups, but that's about the crux of what I can remember.
Yeah, I agree. I can't quite remember the tune necessarily. I remember the energy, but not exactly how the song goes.
Yeah.
That we can't be silenced, we can't be stopped. Hey.
Yeah, it's a little stock, but it gets across the element of powerful musicianship that they're going for.
Yeah, I'd be like, to be fair to them, it is kind of hard to do those kind of like really peppy idol songs in English. So like, for what they had to work with, I thought it was like pretty adequate.
Yeah. Yeah, none of this is meant to be disparaging. It's just kind of the nature of the characters and, like, just... They're the ones who are going to be most lost in translation, I would say. And that's funny to say, considering the group we just talked about was, like, hardcore Japanese music, but...
Right. I mean, we don't really have an equivalent to idols in America. Like, not in the sense that they do in Japan.
Exactly.
Like, you couldn't make Perfect Blue in America.
I mean, you could, but you would have to change bits of it.
Sorry, I shouldn't say you can't.
But, yeah.
I would love to see someone attempt to, but yeah, to make it set in America, you'd have to find a slightly different profession.
I mean, Darren Aronofsky sure as hell tried, but I mean...
Yeah.
Yeah, no, that's true. Just, it's not an idol, it's a ballet dancer.
Ballerina. Yeah.
Prima ballerina. Rest in peace, Satoshi Kon.
Don't smoke. For the love of God, don't smoke.
Amen. If you take nothing from this episode, don't smoke. That's our only PSA.
the spoken performances are good if the music is just like okay.
And kind of going off of what Patrick was saying about Critty Krista, I kind of prefer their dynamic more in season 2, which again, we're not exactly covering the performances, but in that one, they switch from Unicorn Records over to BRB, and they play up the we're like the little sister group to Plasmagica's big sister group, and I love you, big sister. Aren't you bigger than us? We're younger than you, big sister. That's a little more fun than just antagonistic rival band.
I know that that episode will get you flagged on an FBI website.
Oh, jeez.
Oh, anime, and your dubious age description. Oy.
But will you also get flagged for the episode where they do like the water sports day and they have to knock each other off of the podium into the water?
That's exactly that's the one I'm referring to. Yes.
That whole part. Yeah, you're right. I mean,
yeah, it's like these are grade schoolers. These are grade schoolers. These are grade schoolers.
Just go watch Keijo. Like, you want to watch a sports anime where people get knocked off by their ass? Just go watch Keijo.
So are we ready to move on?
Yeah.
Yeah, we're ready. Let me get my helmet on.
Oh boy, here it comes.
I don't think we've waded into this territory on this podcast before.
Right. So this is something we have tried to avoid on Dub Talk for the past 6 years now, regarding a certain actor and his, not only his performances, but his behind-the-scenes shenanigans. We have our next group, Tri-Chronica. We have the twins Riku and Kai, who are animals that are unidentified, probably cats again.
Probably.
Probably, but they play the bass and drums. And then there's this asshole.
And then there's
on
this
lead
guy.
vocals and guitar, Shuzo.
No, Hardy, you didn't say it right. It's Shu
Stars
Zoo.
Yeah. But anyways, they are a super popular trio of a band, and they are touring the entire universe, and they want to spread love and happiness and all that other bullshit.
They are number 1 when we start the show.
Right. Anyways, voicing the twins, Riku and Kai, we have Maiku Solasad and Rico Fajardo, respectively. Voicing Shuzo, we have the one and only Vic Mignogna.
Could it be Vic Mignogna?
Yeah, no, the Band-Aid had to be ripped off eventually. And let us say that there is a very good reason in the disclaimer before every single episode that we have here at Dub Talk that specifically states the opinions are of the individual participants and do not represent Dub Talk as a whole.
Mm-hmm.
And so our opinions, my personal opinions about this particular actor, do not represent the entirety of Dub Talk. And so, let me start off by saying Micah and Rico are great. Vic is okay.
Vic is Vic.
Yeah,
He's Vic. Yeah. When we first did cover this show 10 years ago, when we were making predictions, because that was what we used to do, is we would watch some of the show in Japanese and then we would predict who would we cast to play as this particular character before the dub came out. Literally everyone said Vic was going to be Shuzo.
Mm-hmm.
And
there was no way around it.
There was no way around it, basically. You know, we didn't know at the time or else even if we did have our suspicions, hold on, I'm literally being attacked by a cat right now. That's not Ladybug, that's Whiskey. He's the crazy one. But we didn't know, and so we gave him high praise for this performance because it is basically what we expect from him, or expected from him around 2015. And so yeah, that's basically all I could say about him. I'm not going to speak of his alleged, allegations or anything like that. He is the type of thing. Shuzo is the type of character we expected Vic to play, and Vic played him okay. So
It is a spot
that's it.
on.
That's all I'm gonna say.
Played him to about the expectations that we had of him.
My 2 cents here is just like, definitely very accurate to cast Vic as a prima donna.
Yeah.
Yeah, not just like a pretty boy character, but one who is very full of himself and loves to play up the fame that comes with this level of success.
And I gotta say, it's very interesting coming back to the show 10 years later with everything that has happened, having happened. Just seeing how far the dubbing scene has gone, basically without him. It's very interesting because, in addition to this, I was given as a recommend or die recommendation the first season of Full Metal Panic.
Ah, yes. Classic.
It is very interesting to see how much Vic Mignogna dominates the screen in each of his performances, even when the character is like secondary or super minor. And now coming back to modern dubs, it feels like other actors have some breathing room.
Is that because Vic is super identifiable? Like, you don't even need to read the cast list and you can instantly tell when it's him, even in a background role?
I think that definitely plays a factor.
Okay. I mean, there are other actors who do not have a bad reputation now, who I also think stand out quite a bit when they show up. Like in this very show, Brittany Karbowski shows up as a character, and instantly I'm like, oh, that's a Brittany Karbowski role. I never thought that an actor who has a distinct enough voice that you can recognize them sight unseen took away from the roles too much. But it definitely doesn't help that in a lot of Vic's performances, and he was cast to be a character who was kind of meant to steal the spotlight. Definitely supposed to be attention-grabbing, and yeah, like you said, kind of didn't really leave a lot of room for anyone else to breathe in their scenes. So it's certainly fitting for him being cast as Shuzo, who, doesn't have a whole lot of interactions with the main cast, aside from the past history with Rom, and first introduction when Cyan shows up, and then the final confrontation where all the bands battle the monster at the end.
Yeah. And I'm just gonna put it out there, like, Trichronica's songs were mid. Like, and it's not because Vic was the one singing them. It's just, it may have also been the point of the way the show was written, that Trichronica's songs were meant to be mid.
I think that was
so that the other bands that follow them would sort of, shine above them, I would assume. Like, they warmed the seats for everyone else.
Well, more so, I think they were mid in the sense that because, Trichronica in the first season was signed to Unicorn Records, the villains of the show.
Mm-hmm.
And it honestly feels like their songs were deliberately written and performed to be plastic.
Yeah. yeah, there's definitely commentary there on the overpolished and maybe not so soulful music that the other bands seem to emulate more. Like Plasmagica is still pop, but they write very what's the word I'm looking for here? Very heartfelt lyrics that are sung by a group of friends. And Shingon Crimson is, very. I don't even know what genre you would call them. I was gonna say emo, but that's
Visual
not quite
K.
right.
They're,
Visual K.
yeah, they're meant to be Visual K.
There you go. That is a sound that I do think translates pretty well into English. So yeah, Trichronica is definitely a side of pop that perhaps doesn't really have an equivalent, but yeah, it didn't sound bad. It was just, like you said, kind of mid.
They're Nickelback.
Okay, yeah, I mean, I was
Yeah.
just gonna say, like, insert the most generic boy band you can think of.
Yeah, like early 2000. No, not even early 2000s. Like mid 2000s, Backstreet Boys in sync. Like after they had broken in and they had gotten a little too comfortable.
I was gonna say more like One Direction.
Ooh.
Okay, that might be a little more apt.
Very non-threatening. Trichronica is not meant to be threatening to anyone.
It's candy, basically.
Yeah.
True. Ironic, because there's another band that actually gives literal candy to the characters. And in just wrapping up the discussions on the actors themselves, like Hardy said, Riku and Kai's Micah and Fika were perfectly fine. Like they were not meant to stand out by design. They mentioned some things like, "Hey, isn't that your friend Ram that you used to know?" Or did you have like some kind of a backstory with him before you joined us? Didn't really get a whole lot of actual story things to do, but sounds different enough from Vic, and that's what I appreciate in a band is when you make sure all the characters sound distinct from each other and they complement each other. And I will repeat something that I don't know if I said on a podcast episode before, but just because a person is not a good person in real life does not automatically mean that they're not a good artist or a good whatever they do for a job that you know them at. There are terrible, awful human beings who can still be good writers or good artists, good musicians. Like, the world is full of those. So let's not go down the path of, oh, they're a bad person, therefore they're a bad artist, necessarily. I think Vic was a very good voice actor in what he did. He brought a lot of enthusiasm in all the roles he played, even if a lot of them sounded very similar. It was the sound that was needed for most of the roles that he was playing, and I can... It's a conflicting issue right here. But for this role here, like this, no one else in 2015, I don't think, was going to be cast as English Shuzu.
Yeah.
I'm doing
But now I think he's voiced by Zeno Robinson in the season 4, I think, right?
Yep.
That's
well-
beautiful.
who was not on the acting scene at the time, I don't think.
No, if he was, it was like super early in his career.
Right. Like, I noticed, like KG Tang is in this dub as, like, background voices. Like, there are some to-be famous actors who were just starting in this show.
Yeah, I feel like if Xeno was working in 2015, it probably would have still been in his Disney days.
We're doing McDonald's nugget commercials.
I
Yeah.
mean, probably that. Maybe, I don't know, maybe some Ben 10.
But, like,
That would have been around this time, wouldn't it? Yeah.
Yep.
the later seasons, right?
Yeah, but he would have done those by then.
I was in college at that time. I never saw Alien Force or any of the other shows that came out. But you know who else is in college, probably? This next band.
You know who else was in college?
My mom!
Shingon Crimsons!
Oh, wow.
Oh, also
that was
them.
actually a scarily good muscle man impression.
Yeah, that wasn't bad.
All right. Well, you know, it's basically the same as Kuwabara and the same as Goldar.
Oh, that is...
Anyways,
That is handy.
Moving on to Yeah. Moving on to a much more enjoyable and interesting band, we have the Visual K rock artist known as Shingon Crimsons, the other band under Banded Rocking Records, managed by Mabel. We have, making up their members, we have Crow, who is a hedgehog. He is temperamental about his short height, and he is hyperactive and confrontational and likes to start fights with pretty much anyone. Next to him, we have Ion, who is a lion. He is very arrogant. He doesn't like to show his face. He thinks he's better than everyone and that he is sort of a god among guitarists, even though deep down he's just a sad little boy. We have
so
Yaiba, who... I'm sorry?
I was going to say basically Judy.
Yeah, basically. We have Yaiba, who is a fox, who is long-winded, likes to use way too many words, and is just sort of kind of a know-it-all, even though he doesn't know it nearly all. And finally, we have Rom, who is a leopard and literally the only person with 2 brain cells in the entire band, who is the only one who has an actual business job, and he just keeps the other guys in line with his inspirational speeches and pep talks.
And his name is Rom.
I am Rom. Anyways, playing Crow, we have Mike McFarland. Playing Ion, we have Jerry Jewell. Playing Yaiba, we have Ian Sinclair. And playing Rom, we have Chris Sabat.
There you go. There's our
So
Let's be honest here. They're everyone's favorite. They're everyone's favorite band.
They're my
Everyone's
sons.
favorite.
Plasmatica, they're cute, but like these are the best characters in this show.
They're such a lovable group of
they are my
idiots.
sons, and if anything happens to them, I will go feral.
Well, they will brought it on themselves. Like, they will both get themselves into and then out of trouble again.
Fair.
Like, they deserve
Although-
to have gotten lost on that beach.
I will be honest, Shingon Crimsons also brings up the greatest moral crisis of the Show by Rock franchise. They call their fans cattle. One of them mentions his family is a bunch of dairy farmers.
Mm-hmm.
But there are, like, cow people in Midi City. Like, how does this work?
The old do they eat the Pokemon dilemma.
Yup.
Luckily, they do get called out on that. Like, Retori's like, you might want to stop referring to your own fans as cattle.
But that's the thing.
It turns out the fans like being called cattle. They wear their T-shirts.
That is also kind of messed up.
I mean honestly that sounds kind of right for the sort of teen girls who be into that kind of music.
Again, commentary
Like,
on
step
the
on me,
music
Daddy.
industry.
Which, before I really get into the 4 performers of Shingon Crimsons, I have to give shout-outs to Gene Hester, Terry Doty, and, what is his name? Haley Esposito, as the 3 little piggy fans of Shingon Crimsons, who were at first offended at being called cattle, and then after they performed, started buying up all their merch.
Yeah, this show is
That is one of my favorite gags of the entire show.
This
Oh,
show
that's beautiful.
is rounded out by some very good side characters. I'm almost sorry that we don't really get to talk about the country backwater students who keep saying, I want to go to Midi City too!
Spanish class is the pits! Anyway. Yeah, these 4 are very much my boys.
Yes.
And it's kind of funny to me that the 4 of them kind of represent, at the time, some of the more popular male actors of the Dallas acting pool.
Oh yeah, this
Absolutely.
group is entirely star power.
And yet in the show itself, they are the biggest losers and dorks. Like, the contrast is beautiful.
That's part of what makes them likable. Is they're not going to be threatening to you in a sense. They're going to make you enjoy them being around because of just how absolutely idiotic they are. And yes, I'm including
Yeah.
Ramen there because he still goes along with them.
Yeah.
Oh, sorry, go ahead, Jet.
And I was just gonna say this is like an entirely random aside, but like, literally every time I see Kronos Senryu design, I just think it's Sonic the Hedgehog.
But for good reason.
Yeah. And they're good fits, personality-wise, to their actors, too. Like, Mike McFarlane plays the scrappy one. Ian Sinclair is kind of the doofus, I guess is the best word. Like, one of the bigger dorks of the group. Jerry Jewell is like the edgelord.
Yes, there we go. I was trying to find the term for it. Yes, edgelord is a good term for I am.
And, like, Chris Sabat is the Goku that knows how to do his taxes.
Gotta put that image on the screen here. Dad, are you doing taxes?
Don't tell your mother I know how to do this.
Okay, so Goku knows how to do his taxes, so basically just Vegeta.
I
Okay,
don't think
yeah,
Vegeta knows how to do
actually.
his taxes.
I'm pretty sure Bulma's made him do it at least once.
But my highlight of these four is probably the beach episode.
Mm-hmm.
Where they basically have to push the van because it broke down. But they push it so hard, it goes off a cliff and they have to go chase after it. Where they meet Okinawan Maple, who shoots at them. Like that... Oh, I love that episode so much.
How much?
I will say this. They have given us some absolute perfect 10 out of 10 reaction faces that I haven't seen the quality of since Great Teacher Onizuka.
There was a lot of GTO in that, wasn't there?
And while I can't remember the names of them, a lot of those in the Yokai Street episode are actually based on, like, actual legitimate horror manga.
Oh yeah, they're based on actual yokai.
No. I mean, like, the yokai are based on actual yokai, but, like, the reaction faces Shingon Crimson give, like, those are
okay.
actual, genuine callbacks to, like, real, like, not just horror,
Reaction faces.
like horror shoujo manga. Like, that's how deep a cut this is.
So it's not all just a reference to the Scream.
Yeah, that was a reference to the mangaka who does, like, the really good screaming faces. I think there was a Kitaro one. I could be wrong, but, like, I think one of those was a reference to Kitaro. And then I can't remember the third one.
Was there any Junji Ito in there?
Not to my knowledge.
Alright. Like, I know he was publishing stuff at the time this came out, but I don't know if he was more of a underground author at that point.
Oh, 2015, yeah, he was definitely well known.
Okay.
But, and then Critty Krissa also gets one later on that's a reference to Tomorrow's Joe.
Oh, I missed that.
Okay, I mean, pretty much every show references that at least once at this point.
Hey, that's fair.
Did you reference Beautiful Joe
Does
yet?
anyone else have any...
We'll go back and do it.
Does anyone else have any...
And another shout out episode I want to give is, like, toward the finale when When Ion gets infected with a shadow bug and quits.
Oh, the Crimson Quartet episode?
Yeah. Like, that was probably the standout performance of the 4 characters, but, like, yeah, Beach episode's still my favorite, and these are my boys.
Yeah,
These are absolutely my boys.
Crow definitely had a very, screw you, Sasuke. I'm sick of your attitude. You are my friend, and nothing will change that, you idiot, kind of reaction to Ion saying he was going to quit the band.
Yeah.
Ion actually gets, believe it or not, another arc in the second season.
No, that's cool.
Nice.
Yeah. So he gets a lot of attention compared to the others. So, and Rom's whole big arc is that he's Shuzo's former bandmate, and they have a history together. So,
But not in that way, ladies.
Crow's just an angry little boy.
But he never got any taller. Yeah, this is definitely the one that has the best, the most palatable translation into English, because they're archetypes, like all of them are archetypes that you could probably find in different shows, to the point that I look at Yaiba's character design and I'm just like, that feels like an Ian Sinclair role. Like that is a Black Butler looking guy with fox ears on. And there's absolutely nothing wrong with that. Like, I love these archetypes all thrown into a blender and playing off of each other, being absolutely awestruck at Rom's speeches and putting on that facial design that looks like it's out of Rose of Versailles. And I love them putting way too many awful spices on their ramen and the massive concert performance they give at the very end of the show. 10 out of 10 would rock again.
And on
If
that
I
note...
had-
Oh, sorry, go ahead.
If I had one criticism, Mike McFarlane's a perfectly fine singer, but he is not a visual kei singer.
Yeah. Though, in my opinion, it didn't exactly have to work 100% because these... Other than Rom, it feels like the other 3 are kind of newbies. So you could kind of throw in that green edge and it could be forgiven.
Yeah.
I mean, I see what you're saying, Hardy, about how it's definitely not the most polished voice, and you could make the argument that, well, that's kind of on purpose. Like, the scrappiness of it is what gives it what people like about it. But, yeah, it's a question of, well, was that an intentional choice, or was that just a shortcoming of translating the visual kei sound into an throaty English musical performance?
Right.
It's certainly a very different Mike McFarlane role than the next time he would voice a character in a world of talking animals.
Oh, yes.
That's true.
This is very different from Odd Taxi.
Which we're kind of still waiting on the dub for that movie, Crunchyroll. Where is it?
You know what?
I mean, disc release would be nice.
I was gonna say.
I mean, if y'all don't want to do it, just, I don't know, some license at the biz or something.
Heck, I would be happy with, like, print on demand. Just do the thing Warner Brothers Archives does.
Yeah.
But then you have disc rot.
Well, I'm totally not going to rip the footage or anything once I finally get it. I don't know what you're talking about. We here at Dub Talk do not condone of storing your own media that you bought onto your own hard drive. No.
Anyways, is it all right if we go ahead and move on to our last and main band?
Mm-hmm.
Hell yeah.
Let's finish this concert tour up with our headliners. Plasmagica, they are the main band under Banded Rocking Records. They were originally a trio, but by magic and whatnot, they are joined by another member from our world. The main members are, we have the band leader Choo Choo, who is a bunny. She is on lead guitar and vocals. We have Rettery, who is on bass and is a golden retriever. We have Moa, who is a black sheep, but also secretly is an alien from another world. And speaking from another world, from our own world, we have Cyan, who is a human, but who's turned into another cat. And she plays the Strawberry Heart guitar mentioned earlier. Playing these characters, playing Cyan, we have Bryn April. Playing Choo Choo, we have Alexis Tipton. Playing Rettery, we have our director, Caitlin Glass. And playing Moa, we have Monica Rial. So, what are our thoughts?
Yeah. Oh, sorry. Were you gonna go first, Chet?
I was just gonna say, yeah, I liked all of these. In particular, I thought what Alexis Tipton did with Choo Choo was pretty interesting. Since aside from the whole obviously having to play the leader thing and kind of being the more level-headed one of the group, there was also a bit where she did. I don't want to say an accent necessarily, but definitely very I guess kind of occasionally sort of reading the draw,
a southern belle.
Occasionally calling the others Hottie or pumpkin and stuff like
Sugar.
that.
Like sugars, yeah.
It's not very consistent though, is it?
Yeah. I mean, I'm guessing it was some quirk of the Japanese version, and that was how they chose to translate that. But I thought it was interesting.
Yeah.
I didn't look this up, and maybe I should have, but usually when English dubs give a character a southern drawl, it's to emulate an Osakan character, because they're meant to be a slower, more slurred speech pattern, which would be equivalent to a southwestern or southern American accent. So I'm assuming that's where that affectation came from.
I'm assuming the voice, the accent basically came from the fact that, there's an entire sub arc that goes over the fact that, that Choo Choo basically, quote unquote, came from nothing to be in Midi City.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm assuming that was more a reference to the humbler origins of her small town life before she came to the city to become a musician.
Yeah, that is definitely a driving force.
Because now that you mention the accent, I noticed it was stronger in the flashback.
I don't know, it makes sense.
So I feel like it was something that the character maybe tried to put away to seem a little more sophisticated?
A little more metropolitan.
Yeah.
That is something that people who have accents or dialects have kind of lamented, having to try to kind of scrub from their speech pattern, because it's kind of understood that you will have more success in voiceover or music if you have kind of this generic metropolitan sound to your voice. I did not notice though that her voice had a stronger dialect in the flashbacks, so I have to go back and rewatch that. But that would explain it. That would definitely be on brand, and would explain why the sugars and the drawl is not consistent throughout the show.
Yeah, to me it felt like more of a verbal tick than anything.
But Alexis is
Speaking
singing.
of verbal tick, we can't really bring that up without a certain character in this group.
Is that a dog reference?
I'm assuming you're referring to Moa, in which I really like the character of Moa.
You do?
Monica does a really good job kind of bringing the... now that I mention everything with Choo Choo, that's kind of... It's kind of similar with Moa, which makes the sort of... the whole sub-theme of the characters being someone from away or outside kind of resonate.
They are all kind of outsiders, you're right. Some from outside the planet, even. And when I had mentioned earlier that we had a Hello Kitty alumni, Monica is who I was talking about, because as of when this show had come out, she was like the most recent actress cast in a Hello Kitty performance.
Oh, that's it.
Now, her singing is where it gets the most tricky, I feel, because you heard the show. You know Moa has, like, a very high pitch, is, like, the most alto sounding of the whole group, like, bordering on soprano. But when she has to sing, she can't sing at that pitch. Like, she can't maintain that, so she had to kind of bring it down a little bit. If you listen to the song that they harmonize on in the beach episode, you'll notice that she brings her voice down a little bit. And she'd even mentioned, Monica had mentioned on a commentary that she's used to singing in her big girl Monica voice. So that's the part that couldn't quite be retained from the Japanese. And I guess it's the best compromise rather than trying to make Monica sing falsetto voice to keep the same tone in the right pitch.
Yeah.
But yeah, I think it's a decent compromise. I mean, I don't think it's the end of the world or anything.
And I've got to admit, this may have been one of the first times. Like, I know we talk about the big girl Monica voice a lot on this show.
Mm-hmm.
Like, I think this might have been my exposure, like my first exposure to like big girl Caitlin Glass.
Oh, really?
As Rhetoric, yeah.
That's a good introduction then.
Yeah. I didn't think it was like too different. Okay, no, it's like a little raspier than her Harley and Oron, but I
Oh, yeah.
really dove it there.
Yep. It's definitely also meant to sound like a tiny bit older. It's not high school so much. It's definitely like maybe like college or at the very least like early 20s kind of voice.
Yeah.
Yeah, but she's
And I say this mainly because I didn't fully watch Oron High School Host Club until like for the show, for the White Day episode when we did that.
Mm.
Yeah. Speaking of Caitlin Glass and Rhetoric, basically out of every character among the main cast, this is the one where there's literally no actual hetero explanation for this character. Just none.
Yeah.
Lesbian dog.
Lovely little lesbian disaster. I do appreciate in the show that they make her crush on Cyan very innocent, and it's not like the unfortunate trope sometimes of being like confrontational with her emotions or making Cyan uncomfortable. Like, come on,
I mean, she does maybe take one too many pictures, but aside from that, it's mostly fine.
Yeah.
That's fair. That's fair. But she's got to do something with those 7 computers. You just know Rettery became a crypto miner in the next couple of years.
Well, one of those servers is completely full of porn. You just know it.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. So since Patrick had mentioned... Go ahead.
Go ahead.
Since Patrick had mentioned that this was an introduction to Caitlin's big girl voice, I feel like Show by Rock was my own major introduction to Bryn April, because in remembering when we had covered the show all those millennia ago, I remember that I did not know who Bryn was when we were doing our predictions, and was pleasantly surprised by her just knocking it out of the park with the meows and the wonderful singing and the maintaining the I suppose like a girl from another world persona, but also being strong-headed and determined in the final episode when she finally defeats the big bad monster and saves the world.
Yeah, I will also admit that Show by Rock was probably my first exposure to Bren.
Might have been. I can't remember if I watched this or Noragami first.
I go back to Red Data Girl when she was only 17.
Never got around to watching that. I bought it for someone as a Christmas gift, but I never watched it myself.
Yeah, I never got to it either. And then the whole it never came out on Blu-ray thing kind of turned me off of it, which is kind of a shame because I heard good things.
It came out on DVD, I think.
Yeah.
But it's
Like, it came out on DVD, but it was one of those Kadokawa ones where they just never put a Blu-ray out, and some they got back around to, this one they didn't.
Especially considering when she voiced Cyan, she was only 19 at the time.
Jeez.
yeah, it was impressive.
Right.
And prophetic even. In like I know we had isekai about girls from our world being transported to another world to save that world before. Like this is very Escaflowne or Magic Knight Rayearth-ish, but it was also in our own modern time, like right on the cusp of when isekai was going to become not just an anime thing, not just a popular trend, but like the thing that would dominate all of the anime in a few years.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Back when Isekai had, sensibilities. Now it's just all slop. Unless it's, a cooking show, then that's pretty cool.
So that's
I can deal with Isekai cooking shows.
certainly, but they all take place in like a very medieval-ish kind of setting, like very pre-industrial setting. I would be more than okay with more isekai that are like this, where you get transported to a cool digital music world instead.
Right.
Yeah, there's always Digimon.
There is always Digimon. There will never not be Digimon.
Yeah, it's
Digimon
funny.
are the champions.
Yeah, but it's funny you say that since the new Digimon seems like it's probably going to be music themed.
Really?
Oh, that's right, it is music themed, isn't it?
It all comes full circle then. That was our plan all along, people. We were leading up into discussions of the new Digimon series just for this. I guess my final thoughts for Plasmagica is that all the girls are very well cast, and they harmonize very nicely. Like, you could tell that this was a group that had worked to make their combined sound very nice, and I very much like that episode from the beach episode where they create her new song that is so good it got a shout out in season 2 even.
Oh, yeah.
Falling Star Dreamline.
Falling
It's
Star
the best
Dreamline.
song in the entire show.
That it is.
Yeah, in terms of the singing performances, like, yeah, Plasmagica was the one that that was the one that absolutely needed to hit. And I think they actually did a great job with it.
Mm-hmm. Oh, and I really...
And like you said,
Go ahead.
like you said, they do harmonize very, very well.
And that's saying one thing because a few years later, 2 of these actresses would come back alongside some of the actresses in other bands in the show to make up the main lineup for Zombieland Saga.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, they did.
Oh yeah, pretty much all of them are here, aren't they?
Yeah, we have Bryn, Stephanie, Caitlin, and Dawn.
Yep.
We're just missing Sarah Wiedenhef and Amanda Lee.
Poor Dawn doesn't get to sing. Or at least not in her regular singing voice. I don't know. Did she ever stop being a zombie in season 2?
No, she's always a brain dead zombie, and we wouldn't want her any other way because it just works.
Yep.
Don't question it; it just works.
No, of course. No, it is the magic sauce that makes that happen.
Yes, the legendary Tai Yamada.
Yes. Dang it, now I want to get some fried chicken. All right, shall we wrap up the show so I can go get some fried chicken?
Yes. Let's get on to our final thoughts for the show. Anyone want to start first?
Sure. This was a nice little. This was a nice little show to revisit after all this time. Like I didn't. Like I mostly just thought the show was kind of like cute and pleasant. I didn't have any like particularly strong feelings coming back to it, but it was kind of nice. Some good songs, really good energy, and the dub is really solid. Most of the casting choices here are pretty strong, pretty stacked cast for what is an otherwise kind of niche show, and I thought everything here sounded pretty good. And in general, it was just kind of nice to revisit this show and just kind of look back at the fact that if you hadn't dragged me to do this with you, Marty, I wouldn't have met half of you guys. So, like, I really appreciate you bringing me on back then.
Well, thank you. Yeah, it was good bringing you into the show and into our lives. Noah, I knew you prior to inviting you to this show, and so what was it like revisiting this after being in your very first episode of Dub Talk?
That's true. We did know each other for a very long time before this. You could write a whole book about that. But yes, thank you.
Yeah.
If I remember correctly, you had just kind of sent the call out for would anyone like to talk about the show, and you were very generous enough to allow me to hop on in, despite the fact that I wasn't even familiar with the show when you had mentioned it. So into kind of revisiting it, I guess the thing I take from this is that it feels like Funimation's dubbing pool was kind of firing on all cylinders at this time, ramping up into what we dreamed of but never thought would actually happen, which was like same-day simultub recasts or multiple shows where the dubs would come out very soon after the Japanese episodes had come out, because we had lived for many years before that with you have to wait for the show to come out in Japanese, you have to wait for the home video release, where then you'll hear it all in dub. So this feels like the very beginning of an era that was different from what came before it. And this is a very nice encapsulation of that era, with how many actors in here were a mix between ones who were just starting to become popular and ones who had established themselves as the most reliable of that dubbing scene. I'm glad that the show captured an audience that went on to do more seasons, and really just a nice little reminder of when I guess the world felt simpler, because this was released around the time that I was just in like that post-college era and didn't really know what I was going to do with my life. My son Oliver was only a couple of years old, and so looking back on it, I look very fondly, and I'm very glad that this was the show that started out my own adventure on this little podcast that has been going for 10 years now. So thank you, Hardy.
Absolutely, thank you. Now, Roots, you weren't originally on the first episode, but here you are now. So, how has the show affected you, looking back on it 10 years later?
So, flashback to 10 years ago. I was initially invited to be on the Show by Rock episode, but I, at the time, wasn't ready for, like, putting myself out there. So I initially declined, but I also put out the open offer that, like, if a Ninja Slayer episode happened, like, I would be 100% there. So somebody please license Rescue Ninja Slayer so I can, like, I can get on that. Anyway, God, the show has changed me in fundamental ways that I'm still kind of comprehending. God, met the love of my life on here. Got to go on a bunch of cool adventures. Like, holy shit. Coming back around to Show by Rock. Coming back around to this 10 years later. it's an interesting experience because I can see where everything started. It's really interesting kind of watching the show, knowing where certain people involved with it are now, where everything as a whole is. Like, God, it's surreal. Had a great time revisiting this show. Thank you, Hardy, for finally getting my ass on here.
We finally did it. 10 years later, we finally made it happen.
I've finally gone from cameo to full-on appearance on a Show by Rock episode.
Well, we've been reminiscing here. Hardy, what about you? How has this show affected your life?
Well, this was the very first Dub Talk episode I ever hosted by myself, without Stephanie or Megan. I think you two, if I'm not mistaken, you and Jet might have been our very first guests. I don't quote me on that because we might have had.
I think you had Zen on for Ultimate Otaku Teacher before this.
Possibly, yeah.
Yeah, if not
possibly.
right before
But,
this, soon after.
Right. Don't quote me on that. But yeah, no, this show means a lot to me because it was my own personal time where I stepped up and said, hey, you know what? I could probably host an episode. And Stephanie and Megan both said, hey, sure, if you do it, I'll edit it together for you. So it means a lot to me. As far as the show goes, I'm glad that I was able to get it on home video because it's kind of out of print and super expensive, and there's no idea when the streaming rights are going to expire for it. So, but yeah, it was just a fun little time capsule. It had a few warts left near the end that I didn't remember, to where the ending is just kind of weird to me. But other than that, this was a very easy watch. It was very funny. The dub still holds up, in my opinion. Performances and direction and writing and all. And if you have some extra time, I would definitely highly recommend just watching at least the first 2 seasons of Show by Rock. I still need to go watch seasons 3 and 4, so I can't comment on their quality. But yeah, it's been a lot of fun going back 10 years later and revisiting this show because it is the pinnacle of manliness, such has not been seen since Princess Tutu.
Absolutely. I want to give a huge shout out to the cast members who signed my Blu-ray copy when we went to I think it was Anime Fest. It was our 2017 or 2019. Thank you, Afia Yu. Thank you, Natalie Hoover. Thank you, Rico Fajardo. Thank you, Whitney Rogers. And thank you, Tia Ballard, who were all there and were nice enough to sign my copy. So, yeah, find a copy on home video because it's well worth it.
Definitely.
Even if you have to go to cons and scour through the physical media, overpriced Blu-ray releases there to find one of season 2 because it is very, very, very rare.
I'll tell you this much.
I
will say as a hint, if you go to a convention and Discotheque Media has a booth, they generally have a lot, and I mean a lot, of Annapurna anime.
Oh yeah?
Start your search there, and then spread out if you can't find it.
Yeah.
Discotheque are good people.
Also look for both seasons of Noragami while you're at it, but that's unrelated.
Oh, speaking of unrelated, and I apologize for interrupting, but I promise this is like really good news. I guess Danny Chambers just got on Twitter and said that the reason for her absence this season, she just had a baby.
Oh,
Congratulations! Holy cow!
Oh, that's great.
Well, that's a heck of a way to end this episode.
Whoa. My chair just went out from under me, so sorry.
Oh.
It was that surprising.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt you. I literally just almost fell out of my chair.
Congrats, Mommy
No,
Chambers.
I basically said what I needed to say. It literally just got posted into Megan's Discord, so I just saw it.
All right. Well, congratulations to Danny Chambers.
So where can the
But
people
anyways-
watch this show now that we've hyped it up?
Where can people watch this show? I'm glad that you asked, NoahClue. I will tell you where they can watch this show. They can watch all 4 seasons dubbed in English on Crunchyroll's website. I am not aware if it is streaming anywhere else, but I do know that you can stream that there, and you can also buy, I still think, seasons 3 and 4, are available on home video on Crunchyroll store. If you would like to listen to us anywhere, you can listen to us on our YouTube channel, of course. We do still have accounts on the Hell site, but we also have a account on Blue Sky as well, so follow us there. If you'd like to listen to us in podcast form, we are on Podbean and Spotify. Where else are we on? Apple still?
I think so.
All right. And we also have a Coffee account, which if you would like to donate to us directly. And we also have a Patreon account, if you would like to donate the money directly to us, including our $5 tier patrons, Bright Eyes 505, Crimson Echidna, Just J2, Julia W, Kim Wa Soup, Marissa Linty, Megan's Mom and Dad, and Michelle Travis. And our $10 tier listeners, Anthony Brown, Carly Lesticow, Otaku Anthony, and Pika Greg. Gentlemen, where can we find you guys?
So, my name is Patrick, aka Roots of Justice. You can find me on the twitter.com @Roots of Justice. Also on Blue Sky. I have that so ingrained in my head. I need to add the Blue Sky in there too. Mainly retweet cute animal pics, general fandom stuff. You should hang out, good time. At the end of these episodes, I usually have Patrick's cool thing of the day, where Patrick has a cool thing today. And my cool thing of the day, God, a lot of these episodes I've been on like a horror kick, and that's not gonna change this time, because my cool thing of the day is Osgood Perkins's The Monkey, based on a short story by Stephen King. It's about a monkey that, like one of those little wind-up drumming monkeys, that whenever it hits the drum, somebody dies.
Oh.
In comedic, graphic fashion.
Oh.
This thing is over-the-top gory. It is... If you can handle it, you should check it out. It is available on digital now. And Blu-ray and UHD, like, very soon.
So it's even...
So in other words, that's a Mumon monkey that you would not want in playing the drums in your band.
I mean, I'm sure it would have its uses, but probably not.
Literal death metal.
Noah gets it.
Mm-hmm.
I still don't believe Face Off is a real movie.
Jet, where can we find you this day and age?
You can find me on Blue Sky, where I'll usually just be shooting the breeze, talking about anime or politics or whatever's going on. You can also find me on another podcast, Real Illusions Podcast of the Day, where usually shoot the breeze, talking about anime news alongside fellow Dr. Andrew. You can also find me writing stuff for Anime News Network. This season, I'm doing reviews for Yaiba and Witchwatch, so check those out if you get the chance. And aside from that, I also have my own blog, The Nerdy Abyss, where I will sometimes write about whatever Shonen Jump stuff I'm reading if I feel like it.
Very cool, very cool. NoahClue, where we find you?
Well, it is true that I have both a Twitter and a Blue Sky account @NoahClue. But I've not been using them very much recently. I mostly use them to follow the news of what's going on in the world. occasionally post pictures of my family or our dog or the various adventures going around. I regret to say that very much like Rom, I'm much more work focused these days. So I don't know. Maybe I should plug my LinkedIn instead. Would that be appropriate to link your LinkedIn on the end of an anime dub podcast?
There's no one stopping you.
No, there's me stopping me. No, I've not gone that far just yet. No. Still around enjoying the world of animation from around the world because, yes, they make cartoons everywhere. And so if you, the fine listeners, have gotten this far and have not explored the fine world of animation from beyond America and Japan, please do so. Talked about this on a previous episode, but the movie that just won the Academy Award for Best Animated Feature, Flow, was a completely independently produced Latvian production. You can make great art anywhere in the world. I think as the show has demonstrated, you can make great art anywhere around the world. All you gotta do is seek it out.
And you can find me, SpacemanHardy, on the hell site known as X, formerly known as Twitter, at SpacemanHardy, or you can find me on at the much nicer Blue Sky, at SpacemanHardy at Blue Sky. I don't do much other than occasionally retweet Final Fantasy VII art, and make the occasional bad pun, and if I can make at least one person go, ugh, my day is worth it. But yeah,
My work here is done.
My work here is done. But anyways, thank you all for joining us here tonight. It's been a fantastic 10 years going back and revisiting this quirky little show. And to all of us here at Dub Talk, Otaku on, my friends.
Aloha.
Taco on and good day.
Otaku on that daba.
And because Hardy didn't get a chance to say it, Show by Rock is totally a sports anime. There, I said it. Stopping recording now.
Well, I am currently being attacked by a black cat.
Lucky.
So,
Ladybug.
With that having been said, should we move on to our first band that is led by a cat? No, I'm getting ahead of myself again. God dang it.
This is like
All
the
right, scratch
only
that, editor.
the only group in this discussion that does not have a cat in it.
There is a mouse,
Right.
though.
There is a mouse.
Which
All
is
right.
the opposite of a cat.
Now, the editor, scratch that. All right, let's start from the beginning. Okay.